Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone watching the US World Cup from home, and welcome back to the A-Stream. Welcome back to the World Cup round of 16. We're here with a banger matchup in the winners bracket this time around, after finishing with some fantastic and super close losers bracket matches, 3 of them at once running at 14 UTC. No multitasking this time around. It's just Canada versus Poland here at 15. I'm Dio, and I'm going to be casting this alongside fellow Canuck Azer. Good morning.
I've never been described as a Canuck. That's crazy. Hi.
I told you I'd wake you up.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite early here in Canada. I mean, for you as well, right? A lot of these players, I think this is kind of the common trend here every time there's international tournaments. But I mean, hey, 3 or 4 of these players in Canada here playing this at 7 in the morning,
7 a.m.
Pretty much pretty early for them. But you know, no strangers to doing that. Should be a pretty interesting one. I think there's still a lot of questions left over for both of these rosters, right? Just how much did things change from the people that stepped in and out of both, right? I think the most obvious one that people are probably going to pay attention to in the case of Poland is, you know, how good is Poland without Malashevsky? You know, like if you speak of Poland, most of the time people nowadays are going to be just speaking about how good that player is. Well, not here on this roster, right? So can they still show up and perform as good as they did in the previous years?
Yeah, it's a massive change for Poland this year. 5 members swapped out from last year. The only 3 returning members, Mastash, Rafis, and Tomasz Szyk, formerly known as Kasia Barwika. And for Canada, it's 4 changed members this year as well. You still have Xylus, you still have Zudinator, you still have Ryuke, you still have Cut Paper. But Pikapone and Dark Karate playing for the first time ever in the World Cup. And Sari and Nick returning from 2022, playing in that roster 2 years ago. So questions around both of these rosters, I think, for a lot of people going into the World Cup. And I feel like there's some of that has been answered, right? Especially for Poland going 5-0 over Ukraine in the round of 32. But Canada's seed number 6 has yet to really be tested, right? You kind of expect seed 6 to win their round of 32 match and for it to not be close. But in the round of 16, seed 6 versus 11, usually a little bit closer than that. So I feel like this is the first major test we're going to see of Canada in the bracket stage here. That said, Canada always has been, at least for the last 6 years or so, been a very good early stage year. They've been top 6 in every World Cup since 2018. So the expectations for this roster still quite high despite the changes, because they did still qualify in top 6. And this is still a team that has a lot of its core remaining from last year. Poland, of course, has some of that core remaining, but with 5 members swapped out and a lot of new faces, it's definitely a very different look for this team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, year after year, it's so common to see Canada just be an absolute menace in early stages, right? Up until we get to like quarters or semis, there's always a point to be made, no matter who's on this team, about them, you know, potentially being the strongest team this early on. There's so many well-rounded players on here that are super consistent in lower stages, a lot of overmod potential. They've created some of the largest upsets that we've seen just in terms of seedings, right? Most notably being able to beat out USA in the winners bracket last year, which was pretty much unprecedented. So, you know, I wonder if they can keep that up. There's still a lot of changes, like I said, 4 new players. Things could still change, but they still have that familiar core, right? I mean, you're always going to rely on Zudi and Xylus to be super consistent on just about everything. You've still got Ryuke, that's that's just as strong as ever. And okay, I want to touch on bans real quick here, because there's something there. Okay, both of these teams have at least one pretty strong strength over the other one. Yeah. And for Canada, that would definitely be some of their hidden roster. And like the variety of hidden players that's on this team is pretty insane. You could see that in qualifiers as well. So you would kind of expect Poland to kind of match that with a hidden ban, but they actually choose not to. And they go for the precision no-mod ban, which is pretty interesting. And on the flip side of that, I mean, I was going to mention how Poland's speed roster is maybe the first and only like identifiable advantage that they have on paper over Canada here. And so they're going to find DT2 banned out. But this no-mod 2 is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree with the Nomad 2 being a little interesting. That said, Canada, Poland and Canada did not play any overlapping maps in round of 32 except for that Nomad 2 speed map. And Canada in qualifiers outperformed Poland with both of their runs on both of Poland's runs on the Precision Hard Rock there. So I understand banning out Precision against this Canadian roster as well. That said, of course, the Hidden is always going to be good for Canada. Lots and lots of good Hidden players there. That said, that doesn't necessarily translate to low approach rate. They do have better low AR scores against Poland in the qualifiers, but this is a very different type of low approach rating map for Poland here on the first pick. Yamiako Steroid by Kyrie Bear featuring Hatsune Miku. This is a custom map here that focuses a lot on overlap reading rather than the kind of more accessible aim consistency, awkward aim focus, hidden twos that we've had both in qualifiers and in the round of 32. So something a little bit different here to start things off for Poland. That said, still quite a lot of good low approach rate reading players on the side of Canada. So by no means a guaranteed pick for Poland, but it's an interesting first pick. They definitely have some confidence going into
Really
this, picking the low approach rate.
This is also a bit of a surprise for me here. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I would kind of pin this as a Canadian map here. So I'm curious. Might be maybe a few surprises here for the very first map. In for a good time potentially. Both of these teams are going to be, very well prepared for a map like this. So.
Well, getting the rosters in, looks like Poland's all ready to go. Tomaszczyk, Shedis, Mustache, and Kosiarek in for Poland here. Dylus, Zudinator, Nick, and Pikapone in for Canada. No cut paper here for this map early on, instead choosing to field, I think Zudinator and Nick would be two of the players that are looked at as potentially subbed out for cut paper on this one, but Xylus, Pikapone, usually pretty good on the low approach rate. I know Xylus has been focusing a lot more on speed and mechanics recently, so we'll see how well his low AR reading has held up despite that focus on other skill sets. And again, yeah, I agree, Alex. I think this was probably a map you look at on paper as a Canada pick. So for this to be first pick for Poland is very interesting to start things off.
Yeah, I really wonder here. I mean, if the rest of the Canadian team expected the same, because I would have expected them to pick this. So what does Poland have in store here? There's a lot of potential for some major disruption to happen in people's plans here if Poland show a good performance on this pick. But early on, 2 misses at the very start, but yeah, I mean, it's at the very beginning. So maybe not the best showing at the start, but Canada will be having the early lead for this one. This one's not too long, so we'll have to see how they fare. Again, you've mentioned this map a little bit here, a lot of overlap reading. Definitely a practice map here. No getting around it, right? So we'll have to see if anybody trips up.
Yeah, only 2 minutes 45 seconds, but you have these 15-second long intro and outro sections that are very slow, so not that much real map like this in this one. Only about maybe 2:15, 2:10. A couple of misses from Tomaszczyk here in the first PI time. Pikapone to follow up the first miss for Canada, but Shedis matching right afterwards. So it's 3 FCs for Canada. Still going strong here in the first PI time. Good recovered combos for both Mustache and Kosiarek, both only missing right at the beginning of the map. But this is now a pretty solid advantage for Canada going into the second half of the match. It's not at all over yet, but this is a good spot to be in if you are rooting for Canada. Into these sliders that can be a little tricky, easy to slider break on this section, and there goes Kosiarek with a miss on that slider section. Nick also breaking right afterwards. So combos staying pretty much the same. The game state still in Canada's favor.
Oh, way more breaks here. Okay. Lots of reset going across the board, and that is going to be Poland's last combo gone as well. So, I mean, pretty statement map here from the Canadian roster, starting off of a breakpoint so dominantly here.
Yeah, unfortunately, this pick just not working out for the Poles as really Canada looking very solid on this. Nick still on the almost full combo, reverse choke there, actually, as I think his earlier miss might have been Bancho. And Zudinator actually holding onto that FC going into the ending here. This is that slower ending section I was talking about. And yeah, Alex, I guess our preconceptions about this map at the start were correct, as Canada showing they mean business. Million almost score gap. Actually, yeah, going to be a million score gap here by the end of the map. And that's on Poland's first pick. So Rough first pick for Poland there. FC for Zudinator, reverse choke for Nick, down about 15 combo from that FC. Might have been slider ends as well, not sure, but
I think
very,
it was,
very
yeah.
solid.
Well, Zudi doing good on the Miku map. You love to see it. The fans are happy. And yeah, I mean, this score gap is a lot more than what you'd want to see on Poland's first pick, right? You might have to reconsider some stuff here if you were planning on playing this stuff on the side of Poland here. Not how you want to start off the match. Canada will be finding that one pretty comfortably, and we're gonna go straight into slider aim hard rock here. This one should be pretty interesting. I think this is also another pick I had for them here, alongside some of the other hiddens that also haven't picked, which hopefully we get to see from them very soon. But I mean, I like this being a pick for Canada. They have such a crazy roster depth for so many skill sets. This like really being one of them. I don't even know who's going to be playing this for Canada. They actually have like 6 players that can probably comfortably play this. So I'm kind of curious. I think we're likely to see Dark Karate and Ryuk come in for this one, maybe. Outside of that, not too sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good map though. We saw Poland put up, obviously this is a relatively different map from the Hard Rock 1 in qualifiers, but that's kind of your point of comparison for like techier and more control-focused Hard Rock stuff, right? We saw Kosharek, Tomashik, Mastash, Rafis put up some pretty solid scores on that in the qualifiers. Shed is potentially coming in as well. Looks like Agent 5D actually the one going to be playing this for Poland. Xylus, Zudinator, Ryuk, that is Connor McDavid, hockey legend Connor McDavid.
Oh, yes.
And
the real one.
Yes, the real one. And Dark Karate in for Canada here. This is one of 2 original songs in the round of 16 by Future Witness. It's Resolution. This was the only original so far in the main map pool rather than a tiebreaker original. So take a listen, check it out on streaming services. I'm not sure where people can find this yet. I don't believe it's on Spotify or similar stuff yet, but I don't know if you happen to know anything, Alex. I know you were in talks with the artist before this.
Yeah, it should be available pretty soon. I'm pretty surprised here. We still haven't seen Rafis play a map here. I mean, we haven't really, seen anything of his skill set. But it's also notable. I think Rafis is not playing from home. I think he's on another player's setup at the moment, so maybe not too comfortable. I would have maybe expected him to step in for this, but perhaps not. We'll have to see if it ends up mattering here as we get into Canada's second pick of the match here, looking to see if they can keep the dominance going. I mean, 1 million score gap for the first pick here. We'll see if they can repeat that for this one.
It's going to be tough on a map like this. Massive high-velocity slider aim all over the place in this map, and some tricky streams as well. Not just slider streams, but some really wonky stream aim control throughout this pick as well. Tons of cut streams. This kind of does it all in terms of the tech, but it really is about that slider aim throughout this pick. Tomashik with the first break to come through for Poland. As everybody else falling onto the full combos. Agent 5D also finding the drop there, though. Solid accuracy so far pretty much across the board. We've seen some low accuracy plays on this map. But in this lobby, I think I'm expecting to see mostly 97 plus on this sort of pick, which is pretty solid. Kosharek finding the next miss as well. And right now, it's a 4-way full combo for Canada versus just the FC from Mastash on the side of Poland. Everyone making it through that slider stream in this first half. This map does get a little harder in the second half, but this is still looking very solid for Canada at the moment.
I need to see this downtime here. We've seen a lot of pretty funny misses. This part here. Kind of a break in the song, but yeah, there's still some snapping to be done. We've seen a surprising amount of FCs being broken here on some of these very short sliders. We'll see if anybody trips up. I'm curious.
I know Fiery said during the showcase that this part was deceptively hard, way harder than it looks, and there goes Agent 5D. That's the only one so far, but we've seen misses on these sliders too. I don't know if anybody in this lobby is going to find them, but can happen.
Yeah, I mean, these players on Canada just going to be so comfortable on so many different types of maps here. And looking to potentially... Have we seen a 4-way so far this round? I don't think we have.
I don't think so, but
this part gets way harder, though. I'd be surprised, but we'll see.
Yeah, this part of the map in the second drop in the song is ridiculously difficult, as everybody still holding their nerve during this part. Nobody breaking on the slider stream intro to this section either. It's still the FC for Mustache, but the four-way still going strong for Canada right now. This part gets way more difficult. There goes Dark Karate and Xylus on basically the same pattern. Zudinator and Ryuke holding on to the FCs for Canada. Big combo still intact on the side of Poland, but it's just not going to matter. Mustache might be able to close it out in style at least and find the full combo, but a chance at a win is long gone on this one. 750k in favor of Canada, and still climbing here at the end, as Ryuke's client going to lag out a little bit here right at the end of the map. And we're going to see a closeout in style for both Mustache, Zudinator, and Ryuke.
Insane. I mean, Mustache definitely tried. Pretty solid play there. Even, you've mentioned some of the lower accuracies on this one. The 96 is still a pretty high accuracy on this compared to what we've seen, but man, what can you do against that? Like, Canada basically just always, almost four-wayed that, right? 2 misses at the end, or 2 slider breaks at the end from Xylus and Dark Karate. 3.6 million is pretty insane on this type of map. I wonder if we'll see that being matched, but yeah. Canada in early rounds, man, way too consistent. It's so hard to go against, and we're going to be going straight into another speedier pick here. If Poland has, one map that probably I could say they have a noticeable advantage on, at least out of the maps that's remaining in the pool, it's probably going to be this or DT1. So, if Poland's going to be showing anything, I think they still have not really. Like, both of these two picks have been pretty one-sided for Canada, so you're going to have to hope that this one, they're going to be able to show something here.
Yeah, and like you said, this is one of the skill sets that we thought Poland would be stronger on than Canada. The DT2 ban from Canada showing that they are also scared of Poland on the speed, right? And this is basically the only head-to-head skill set where Poland has consistently had an advantage over Canada, looking through both the qualifiers and the bracket stage so far. DT2 qualifiers, DT3 qualifiers, no mod 2 in the round of 32. So you have to expect Poland to put up solid scores on this sort of a map. And this is really actually also an area where Canada, I think, has a little bit abandoned, not quite abandoned, right? These players can still play speed, especially in the early stages, and they do still have good speed players on this roster like Xylus and Ryuke. But for example, losing Curtis and adding in Peakphone, Dark Karate, and Nick Sari, none of those players that we've added on are really direct replacements for somebody like Curtis, who was a speed specialist, right? So while there are still players on this roster who can, of course, play the speed and play it well, like Nick and Peakphone, who were just added this year, it's no longer the Canada speed show like it has been in previous years. And that shift, I think, might actually be good for Canada. It makes them more specialized into the aim control, the hidden, which has been one of their biggest strengths in the past.
Canada's kind of been known as a speed team since 2018. This is kind of the first time they haven't been. Like you said, when the rounds are so early here, they still have, a wealth of people that are going to be playing this with no issue for the early round speed. But I mean, you're right. They're kind of missing that firepower for the late rounds. Maybe that's going to come into play later. Okay. But okay, these are all right. Then. I was briefly, I did mention it actually a little bit that Canada is so well known to be able to overmod so many things. And you get to see that now. 2 extra HDHRs being put in for this one. Oddly enough, the 2 people on the Canadian roster that I think you could attribute to, probably going overmod on a free mod being Zudi and Sari aren't even in for this one. So this is just Xylus and Peakphone just taking these mods for fun, and Ryuke taking hidden. Pretty interesting here. A bit of a statement. I mean,
that's the biggest surprise for me is Ryuke hidden.
Right? The variety of this is kind of crazy, but we'll have to see if it pays off. I mean, it can be risky, as we do early. We see early Peakphone grabbing a miss here. I mean, still just having the 2 modded players on the Polish roster here, going to create that comfortable advantage, right? It's not going to be a problem for these players to keep their combo on this. So it's really going to depend on if the modded players, the complete over-modded players on Canada are going to look for a payoff here, and so far it's not really working in their favor.
And it's backfired, as both the hidden hard rocks have already missed for Canada. The Nomad players still holding strong for Poland. There goes Shedis. That is one of the first misses here for Poland, but it's still a full combo advantage for Poland on the board. Rafis in here, still full comboing on the Nomad. Tomaszczyk and Tardis both full comboing on the Hidden and the Hard Rock. Ryuke and Nick still able to match, but there goes Nick, and that's another FC down for Canada. It's now 3-1 in the FC count. Pikapone is on a good recovery combo, and of course, Xylus and Nick are going to get back to some solid combo, but there goes Pikapone once again, and this pick is just kind of disastrous for Canada. The shoe completely on the other foot this time around, as Poland wiping the floor so far. 1K combo, 3 FCs, well over 3/4 of the way into the map, and just Ryuke to answer on the side of Canada, as this one is well and truly over.
UK hidden. Well, okay, this is nice to see for Poland, though. It's good to see. This is one of their few picks, I think, that they have a noticeable advantage on, and there it is. They've shown it. 455k lead at the end here. Good to see a sign of life. Maybe Canada getting a little too cocky with the mods, but this is perhaps one of the maps that I think they probably expected to lose. Like you said, it's not really a speed country here anymore. Their roster not really well suited for a map like this. So Poland making taking advantage from that and making notes of the lack of speed players here for Canada. Maybe some other unlucky misses on the Canadian players here, but I mean, really good show for Poland here. And I think I have to figure out at this point for them, after seeing how the other maps have went, if they keep playing into this speed, or at least what's left of it. DT1 maybe perhaps for them could be a good pick, but it's going to be Canada's next. And I think I would like to expect some hidden here. It's Canada. They have one of the strongest hidden rosters in the whole tournament, so maybe it's time that they show that. We'll have to see.
Yeah, surely. You have 3 picks left as Canada. I feel like probably 2 of those should be the hiddens, and yeah, there we go. Into the hidden 2 here. Glacier's Poetry by Vita Crush and Project G, mapped by Jazag. This was actually a tourney custom in another tournament besides the World Cup, repurposed here for the round of 16 pool. This one originally from Gary's Spring Hidden Tournament. So thank you to Jazag for mapping this one over there. This one is very similar to a lot of other Flowtech maps that Jazag has made. You have these kind of micro movements all over the place for a lot of streams. But this one does have a little bit more of the slider tech element as well. So it's not quite Shadow Castle, but a lot of the flow aim is relatively similar, just easier and with quite a few more of the slider tech elements.
There's something important to mention here. So Canada was preparing to play this match without Cut Paper. Cut Paper did not think he could attend this match. As was briefly showed in the match chat earlier, Cut Paper actually is here. So this, even without Cut Paper, because it's a hidden tech map, everyone's thinking about Cut Paper for this. Canada was still preparing for this with the knowledge that Cut Paper might not even be here. So I wonder if he's warm, if he's going to step in, if he's going to be able to play this. I think people are going to want to see that. Because even without that, still a really good pick for Canada here. Such a crazy depth of hidden players for this, especially on this type of map, right? The Jazag hidden stuff. We've seen Xylus do really good on this type of map in other tournaments and stuff. So I wonder if there we go. So Cup Pepper going to come in. Finally going to be seeing a map from him here, and I think on the side of Poland here, I think this is also one of those maps where it's going to be on the weaker side for them against a roster like this one. I wonder if we can see something, maybe miracles can happen here, but I would fully expect this to go the same way that Canada's first pick went. So
I'm definitely expecting this to be a Canada victory out of the gate. But we have seen, maps like this are quite volatile, right? The kind of flow aim control that you need for something like this when other skill sets are mixed in is really, really tough. It's very easy to chain miss. It's very easy to drop on just a random note that's outside the rest of the flow of the stream on something like this. So this is a map that can be very volatile, but you expect Canada to thrive in that volatility. And Poland, they have had tougher times on the hiddens compared to Canada throughout the World Cup this year. So you expect this to go Canada's way, but we'll see what Poland can put up on this one. Tomaszczyk, BMG, Mastash, Kosiarek here to try and take a breakpoint on this hidden 2. If this is a breakpoint, by the way, I feel like the rest of the match gets a lot shakier for Canada because you expect these two hiddens to really be very good for them as a team. So losing access potentially to that hidden one later on in the match would be pretty tough for Canada's pick strategy on the whole, I feel like. So we'll see if Poland can potentially bring us to a much more interesting pick ban state here. Early break for Mustache to start things off. Now out of the intro into these micro movement streams along with the sliders early on. As everybody else still holding their nerves, still holding the full combos through this section. Nobody breaking so far outside that early break from Mustache. BMG and Mustache, though, find another set of breaks here for Poland. It's 2 of the full combos down, now a third of the way into the map already. This is quite a short one again, only 2 minutes and 30 seconds on this map. And another break for Tomaszczyk. Xylus and Cut Paper, however, both break at the same time for Canada. It's Zudinator and Pikapone versus Kosiarek. It's still 2-1 in favor of the full combo count for Canada, but much closer with lots of breaks all over the board.
You can see exactly what you were talking about with this one. This map, you look at the accuracies for the people who still have combos, so comfortable. Basically SS on everyone that still has a combo there. But any single one of these patterns, small miss aim going to cost you so much, right? So easy to just miss aim on one of the micro aim control heavy streams here and just miss like 4 times. So pretty hard recovery to make after a miss here, but Canada halfway in, a little bit more than halfway in now, still going to be find themselves really comfortable in the lead here with 2 of their combos still.
Another break for Tomaszczyk to come out here. Not going to help the case for a Poland recovery. Kosiarek still holding the full combo here, but Zudinator and Pikapone making a recovery impossible at the moment for Poland. The double FC still going strong for Canada here in the second half of the map, the last quarter now. And at this point, nearly 500,000 score up for Canada. Even if those 2 FCs break, it's all over already. The FCs still going strong. The double S finally dropped for Kosiarek, was double S'ing until over 3/4 of the way into the map, and will finish it out with the full combo, but still not enough. 520,000 score lead for Canada here off the back of the 2-way FC from Zudinator and Pikapone. Very, very solid scores from them, and a fantastic score from Kosiarek as well. 3x100 there.
That was
but just
almost
not enough
SS.
support from the rest of Poland.
100 up until the very end for Kosiarek. They're definitely putting up a good fight. And, I will say definitely some opportunity for Poland to show something there. I think if we had a little bit more of a Kosiarek tier performance across the board, but that's going to be pretty hard to match here, I think. So Canada going to be taking their pick here. Definitely, like you said, I think the 2 hidden maps, probably the 2 maps that they should really be winning on this, and everything else that's remaining, potentially a bit more of a coin flip, or something that Poland has a much stronger chance to fight on. And so knowing this, assuming that Canada's going to pick Escape next map. After that, they're still on 4 points, right? So they still have to find something else. If Poland can find an upset on that, or do really good performances on something else in this pool, it should be pretty interesting. But I'm looking at some of these maps left, and I'm thinking definitely not going to be going into the realm of free mods for Poland here. Picking either of these maps into some of these Canadian players might not be the greatest idea. So I think we're going to be sticking probably with DTs here, and maybe like a no mod 1 or something for Poland.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was thinking maybe the DT1 or like the Hard Rock 1 potentially. I know that map has not been picked yet this weekend for a variety of reasons, but it actually is going to be the free mod 2 here for Poland.
Oh,
okay. Completely different from what we might have expected here. Again, this Poland team, the only skill set on paper, looking at the qualifiers, looking at round of 32, comparing the scores from both teams, the only skill set that Poland across the board has had the advantage on is speed. So you really expect it to be the DT1, just looking at what they've picked in the past, but it's going to be the free mod 2 instead here. And I almost think it's okay on a map like this. We saw double hidden hard rock and hidden from Canada on the free mod 3, and over modding on something like this is, sometimes it's comfort on the AR10, but that CS 6.5 stream aim is really, really tricky on this map. Despite its age, there are some nasty cut streams and tough finger control patterns in this that Hard Rock can make really difficult. So I don't expect the overmod strategy to be particularly viable on something like this, despite maybe making the approach rate easier for a lot of players. And while, yes, the low AR pick went the way of Canada, Poland has had the advantage on free mod. Again, I don't really expect this to be the pick for Poland in this scenario, but here we are. So trying to think of what exactly it is that makes them want to go into this. I think it's just the stream aim. The fact that this is, despite being AR8 CS5, largely a mechanics pick.
Yeah, I don't know either. Poland has some knowledge that we don't have or something, so I'm not seeing it. So we'll have to see. I mean, especially after how Nomad 4 went, not exactly the same type of map, but I mean, a little bit adjacent, right? Very, very old. You still need to take some low AR players for this probably, and just considering as well. I mean, considering the mods we've seen on Free Mod 3, I wonder what Canada even cooks up for this. Again, so many players on this roster can just run Hidden Hard Rock as like preference mods. It looks like there is going to be one for Zudi, probably the most expected one, and 2 Hard Rocks on the side of Poland here. BMG going to be taking the Hidden. Kosiarek on the Hard Rock. I would maybe expect Kosiarek to stick with the Hidden, considering how well the performance was on the last map for them. But we'll have to see. This is a long one, everybody. 4.5 minutes here of very, very old 2010 mapping. This is 5.8 stars, yeah?
This is a 5-star map.
There's no catch to it. It actually just is. It's 5.8 stars.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a marathon. We'll see who's got the concentration. This map definitely spikes up in difficulty a little bit, spacing wise, towards the end here as well. So let's see who can set themselves up to get there pretty comfortably. Definitely a marathon for this one here. So I mean, these early misses, as people settle in, not too worried on either side.
Yeah, again, with how long this is, the early misses just are not going to matter too much. That said, slight advantage early on for Poland. A later break for Nick means slightly higher overall combo for Poland here, so should start to take the score lead a little bit soon here, but there goes BMG once again, so score lead back over to Canada. And this is another one of those maps that really gets harder the longer you get into it, right? This is a map that kind of crescendos in difficulty about 2/3 of the way in, and before that, you expect most players to be pretty comfortable on this kind of map. So let's take a second and talk about the history. This was a hidden pick in finals, which was also used as the grand finals pool in OWC 2016. So back here after 8 years. I tuned into Osu Live in 2016, and I watch Silent Voyage to Eternity. I tuned into Osu Live in 2024, and I watch Silent Voyage to Eternity. It's been a little bit, but a lot of players should be very familiar with this map. It's been used in quite a few places since then as well. So I don't think this is a map that a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable with. That said, a lot of early misses for BMG now breaking once again before this break. And both teams still on the 3-way full combo, but better combo overall for Canada.
I actually think these misses from BMG are pretty impactful here. The difficulty increase at the end here, like, you could almost argue this map has like a 3-minute intro. Especially if you're not playing this on Hard Rock. There's honestly not too, before this stream right there, there's really not much to miss on. So it's kind of expected that you're able to build free combo for that. I think that is going to be pretty impactful to not have that on the side of BMG here. So we're still pretty much at the last, relaxing, easy part of this. There's going to be, if any breaks at all during some of this hard section here, going to be pretty hurtful. Dropping 1Ks on pretty much anyone else that misses. So we'll have to see as we get into a little bit of a, I guess you could call it a finger control section here. Not really by today's standards, but still some of the spacing increase here can definitely catch some people off guard. It's very, very uncommon, very old mapping. So we'll have to see who's comfortable.
All right, we're getting just about into the solo section now as well. Everyone holding their combo through that first section. BMG dropping right before. The streams coming out of the sliders, catching no one. The cut streams also just BMG on that section. Everybody else in this lobby is still holding super well, but we've seen this map flip on a dime during this part of the song, so it is by no means over yet. But there goes Tomasz Szyk on the Nomad, one of those key players for Poland, now finding the drop, and it's still the 3-way full combo for Canada. It's still the near 1,200 combo recovery score for Nick. They make it out completely unscathed from the solo section, and with a nearly 500,000 score lead and almost a full 2 FC advantage, Canada looking to take yet another breakpoint on this Fremont 2 from Poland.
So I'm kind of just left thinking what the reasoning for these picks are on the side of Poland. I'm trying to piece it together. I mean, some of their players definitely still look comfortable on this, but this being, arguably, you could say the easiest map of the pool for a lot of people in Canada, being known as, the early game consistency team in OWC. It's such a risky pick to take, and you get to see that here, right? Like, you can't afford any misses. I mean, a three-way here up until the end, pretty much a three-way. Nick had a miss at the very, very beginning, but completely recovered. So one miss on the side of the UK and 2 full combos for the side of Canada. And that's just so hard to go up against. I mean, Kosiarek and Mustache did so well there on the Hard Rock, but you definitely need like a four-way performance on this if you're gonna pick this against any team at this stage. So I'm left to wonder a little bit if Poland perhaps has other picks that could have been better here. But regardless, solid performance from Canada here. I mean, very, very solid on all players. I mean, the one miss, pretty much, it's 3 misses, but it's all on one pattern. UK missing on, or I guess Connor McDavid missing on one stream there, right? So pretty good performance here, and straight away into the remaining hidden pick. So Poland is going to have to make a dent here somehow. They're up to match point now. They can't afford any more losses, and we've been saying this is probably the last map that's left in this pool where Canada has a distinct advantage on. So if anything on Poland is happening, it's got to happen now, right here.
See if they can make it happen, because the last hidden pick was pretty solid for Canada. We saw the 2-way FC from Zudinator and Pikapone on that one. Cut paper with the S rank, and really only Kosiarek and BMG matching those 3 players. Kosiarek on the FC, of course, and then BMG on almost 700k there. So we're gonna have to see some. We're gonna have to see Poland clutch up, basically, and that's all you can say for this kind of a map. That said, this is one of those maps where I don't think combos are guaranteed. Again, aim control, finger control, hybrid rhythm maps like this are, again, quite volatile. You have a lot of patterns that are very easy to miss on in this map. This is another one of those picks where the map gets harder and harder throughout. It's not a kind of flat difficulty curve. It does spike quite a bit at the end. So if we see either, early misses from Canada, or if we see both teams hold until near the ending, this could very easily go the way of Poland if either of those comes to fruition. But that depends on Poland performing and holding up against a Canadian hidden roster that has typically been one of the strongest in the tournament, even in some of the later stages of the US World Cup.
There's an interesting dynamic with this map in particular that I think can come into play here, honestly, in any of these matches that's picked in. Just something I'm personally curious about. If you're that type of player that is, very attuned with playing this type of map, right? Like the rhythmy, finger control with hidden type stuff, you're going to be so much more focused on the actual rhythms that you need to play, but that's not, you're not going to miss on any of that in this. Once you know it, you're just going to play it. So losing that focus, or rather shifting your focus away from some of the aim in this, in order to focus on some of the more rhythm elements, it can really make you miss. And the accuracy, like across the board for every player that has played this in the World Cup, is way lower, right? So accuracy, maybe you can play this too well, but it's actually not that much of an advantage, right? So there's a few cases already of kind of combo gaming on this being extremely well rewarded. So I'm just wondering if we're going to get to see that here, because I think a lot of these, all 4 of these players on the Canadian side at least, going to be focusing a lot more on the accuracy on a map like this. So very susceptible to random misses. There's a lot of pretty random jumps at some parts of this, or unexpected parts that require a lot of practice. So despite this being a pretty solid advantage for Canada on this map, I think there's still a good shot for Poland to make it through.
Notably, no Kosiarek on this map for Poland did put up the top score on that hidden 2 that we saw earlier. It's Moshik, BMG, Mustache, and Rapis in this time around for their roster. And yeah, it's a good point you bring up that over-focusing on the accuracy can take away from your ability to aim on this map, and that's really where you'll find those misses. So pay no attention to the accuracy at the top of the screen, because it doesn't matter nearly as much as the combos. And there goes Xylus. The first miss for either of these teams does find, I think, what was a slider break. Another one to trade for BMG, though, as now Poland trading off and going even on combos in the first third of the map. And again, that's kind of what we said needed to happen for Poland to have a chance of winning this. Cut paper breaking on this section, though, is massive, and that's now early breaks for Canada. That is huge for Poland here. BMG is the only one to miss so far. He does trade again, is struggling, but there goes Mustache, another slider break to come through. That was Bancho, though, as now it's still the three-way full combo for Poland intact here. The accuracy is keeping the score lead on the side of Canada for now, but there goes Cut Paper and Saryi once again, and suddenly it's just Zoodinator holding halfway through for Canada. Poland with the three-way full combo. Poland with the advantage on this hidden pick. And despite BMG struggling a little bit, the rest of the roster has his back. They are there to pop off and potentially take Poland to a second point in this match. It's a little early to call right now. Only 80k the score lead for Poland, but it's looking good halfway through here.
This is big. It's really big. There's a lot of those misses we were just talking about. Canada got hit by Mustache can afford a miss here, perhaps. Rafis and Thomas Schick still holding together here. The ending is going to spike a little bit in difficulty, but they get to build up a little bit of a comfortable lead here. So this is really, really good for Poland. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Can they continue this run here into the ending? Rafis and Tomas Schick, two of the three returning members here in for this pick alongside Mustache now. Holding combo, holding their nerve, but there goes Rafis. It's just Tomas Schick now holding the big combo for Poland. Zoodinator, however, is matching on the side of Canada. You have good recovery on Xylus and Cut Paper, and as the ending approaches here, I fear we're going to need to see some misses from Canada in order for Poland to take this, but those misses more and more likely the farther you get into this map. There goes Mustache and Cut Paper. That's one of the big combos down. Sorry, Tomas Schick, four-way break for Poland, and Zoodinator still holding. She's the only one to hold through that pattern, and she brings the score lead back to Canada. The carry player, the pop-off member in qualifiers for Canada, doing it again here and clutching the performance out to secure the 5-1 victory for the Canadians.
Oh my god, what happened? Well, all 7 players broke on the same pattern. Zoody just said, no, I don't miss. Apparently. Just doing Zoody things here. 5-1 for Canada here. It was really rocky, but man, that was looking so promising for Poland here. Rafa is doing so good on a map that I don't think a lot of people would credit him for being able to do good. No one's thinking of this type of map when you're thinking of Rafis, and almost sticking it out all the way up until the end. Unfortunately, not going to be enough when you're against Zoodinator, though. Man, that was a bit of a roller coaster.
Definitely some ups and downs there near the end, and we talked about those ending patterns being the most difficult in the map. Sure were. They sure were the most difficult. That 7-way miss really illustrating just how tricky that can be. And fantastic scores from Poland at the end there. Tomas Schick nearly 800k, Rafis 620k, both of them ahead of anyone on Canada aside from Zoodinator. You had, I think, honestly, a better overall team performance from Poland there, but the hard carry from Zoodinator was just too much to overcome, and that is going to be the difference maker there. Canada taking the win. But Poland, they're not out of it yet, right? They are not out of the tournament yet, and I think you saw some good signs of life here for Poland, despite the 5-1 scoreline. Both that last map being pretty close, Mustache, Kociarek showing up in this match as well. Kociarek FCing both the Free Mod 2 and the Hidden 2 for the side of Poland. We saw them take that point on the Free Mod 3 as well. So there's been some good signs of life for this Polish roster in this match, same as in their 5-0 versus Ukraine. So it does look good for Poland here in the losers bracket. They'll be dropping down to face off against a few more teams next weekend. And Canada, of course, moving on to face the winner of the United States versus Turkey later on today. Ooh. That one of the last matches that we have there, that triple overlap at 18 UTC.
That's a banger looming there. 3 matches remaining, though. Well, rather 4, but there's still a giant block of 3 matches. Lots of triple blocks today. Unfortunately, I think one of those is not going to be getting streamed. But before we get to that, Spain versus Finland coming up next here in 15 minutes. Pretty excited personally to see Finland. I think Finland is a team that really is showing more and more as years go by. There's a lot of newer names that come up on that team. A lot of their older players, most notably like Freezed, for example, who I think most people would attribute to being, largely responsible for Finland's previous wins for a couple years. Not here this time. It's up to other people like Amasetic to carry it on for them. We'll have to see that very soon, though, in 14 minutes. Until then, we'll be right back.
Yeah. It's going to be good to see support for both of those teams. And, of course, you can always support them in chat here, but the best way to support them is by buying banners. So if you're a fan of Spain, Finland, Canada, Poland, go ahead and buy those banners on the OS store. It supports the teams directly, and you get to display it right on your profile page, right at the top there automatically. So go ahead and support those teams. And like Alex said, we have a banger of a match coming up here in the losers bracket. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 15 minutes with Spain versus Finland.